Welcome to the I'm a Practicing Musician podcast, where we explore what it means to be a practicing musician from perspectives spanning from music educators to famous musicians. I'm your host, Jake Douglas, and our guest today is practicing musicians senior artificial intelligence developer Brian McCoy. Thanks for joining me, Brian. How are you doing?
What's up?
Oh, a lot. Excited to be here, talk about some good music, artificial intelligence, at least some of the good stuff that we got going on. Some of it we can't talk about, but um, yeah, I'd like to start off by having you tell our audience a little bit about why you got involved with practicing musician. Yeah, let's start there.
So the reason why I got involved with practicing musician is that I have been building AI systems with hardware, things like that, in order to develop a program that I could use to grow mushrooms. So that was the first big lift that I
And
did with
not
AI.
magic mushrooms for our audience, not magic.
Yes, yes, not magic mushrooms. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So so basically, so did that, and then I had done a bunch of other AI programming things. So the goal that I so I, my friend got me on to practicing musician. He was working with it, and I decided that that might be a good fit. Looks like the company thought it was a good fit too. So uh, I joined in October and of 2023, and it's been going very well. Been generating different types of AIs, going through research, state of the art type of stuff where we're attempting to, make AI a tool that's easy to use but isn't the primary focus. The primary focus is learning music. So
Yeah, and that's partially what sets us apart from a lot of the other AI companies is trying to use AI as a tool for actually expanding potential work or education or various roles rather than to replace them or yeah. Um, so along those lines, you got involved for the AI purpose. What about music? Are you a musician? Have you played music? What exactly is your history there?
so I am a musician, but not a practicing musician. So I definitely I've learned to play the clarinet. I have learned to play the baritone saxophone. I have been involved with choir where we did learn to read music and sing according to the notes and everything like that. Uh, More so, I see it mathematically. I see music as math in my brain. And so the way that I'm interpreting things from my perspective, which is not the perspective of the user, but is through math. So that's how I understand that kind of stuff better. But I definitely love music. I listen to all types and kinds and things like that. And I have once upon a time attempted to. I bought a very expensive synthesizer for or no, one of those beat pads, the pads, and it had a screen on it and everything, and you could, do music and send it into your computer and all that stuff. And I was absolutely awful at it, so I didn't do it. So yeah.
Yeah, cool. Well, so that begs a couple follow-up questions. Barry sax and clarinet, was that in concert band or jazz or something when you were growing up?
It was in band, so yeah, it was middle school when I was doing that. So yeah, the clarinet was the first, and then the Barry sax was another, and I was making really great progress. But then I had to leave the school that I was in with the Barry sax, and my teacher told me that I was quite talented and that I should never stop. So,
Yeah.
which then I stopped.
Yeah, that happens. I know that happens to a lot of people. I was brought up in a musical family and didn't really have an option to not play, but also I was told that it wasn't a career myself. And look at me now. So
Yeah, yeah,
I've been in this career for 7 years and made $0. So
yeah.
right.
And it's just, yeah, you do your passion, you do what you love. And, for me, I really enjoy working with technology where there's problems to be solved that haven't necessarily been solved yet. So,
Yeah, totally. Well, and so on that note, I want to come back to your experience in concert band and what it means to be a practicing musician in your view. But first, the you brought up something interesting, which is that music is math. So can you explain to the viewers a little bit what you mean by that?
yeah. So if you think of music, it's basically waves, and waves can be expressed through fractions, and notes are expressed through fractions. And so you can design a system that the AI already understands, which is math, that then translates into notes, and it happens just on the fly. Um, and that is notes and sounds and things like that. And there's already AIs out there that do this. So a lot of it is figuring out how to incorporate that so that the AI can do the best job that it can when it is trying to teach music, not just understand it. So it's similar to like a math program where the AI will teach you math, but you can adapt it to have the AI actually teach you music instead of math just by adding an extra layer um, in. So,
Totally. So this goes way back to Pythagoras. The Pythagoreans came up with one of the first Western tuning systems, which was fraction based. There's actually a very funny
I didn't
Donald.
know that.
Yeah, there's a 30-minute Donald Duck in Mathemagic Land, and it's about the music or the math behind music. It's a great if you're for great way of explaining the math of music to kids. But this goes back to what? I don't know when Pythagoras was born, but way thousands and thousands of years ago, probably 3,000 years ago or so. Um, and then Plato got into the math of music quite a bit as well when he was writing the Republic and the talking about the liberal arts. So, in his opinion, the lower liberal arts were grammar, logic, and rhetoric, input, processing, and output. How do I view the world? And then the higher were that's called the trivium, and then the quadrivium was algebra, geometry, math, and astronomy, because algebra is just numbers, geometry is numbers in space, math is numbers in time, and astronomy is numbers in space time. And this is one of the things that I lecture on quite regularly, which is I believe Plato was fundamentally incorrect because he said that astronomy was higher because astronomy is numbers in space time. But the argument I make is that astronomy is theoretical, something that has to be thought of um, and can be proven. But with music, music is only numbers in time if you're listening to it. If you're playing it, it's numbers in space, my space. I'm using my space to create numbers in time. And so it's an experiential version of our relation to the rest of the world, which is one of the reasons I think music is such an important thing to bring to the world. But anyways, I'm interested in your thoughts on those kind of ancient views of music as math. If you, yeah,
Yeah, I haven't. We're standing on the backs of giants here, so we wouldn't be able to do any of the stuff that we're doing, math, computers, science, anything without these figures in history who taught us all of these things. I just find the beauty in the fact that math is everything, and so, or at least math helps us to understand everything. It's a representation of the natural universe, and so um, music music describes the universe beautifully, and so you can use the same principles that generate music and make it pleasing to our ear, because we know when music isn't pleasing to our ear. that same principle is the same principle that governs where the planets are in the solar system, and
Mm.
what orbits they have, and things like that. So they're all interconnected, and so the universe, it is a big giant computer that settles into the right answer, which is the orbits of the universe, or the planets, or whatever. Music is the same thing, and it's but we've learned to create what would be the settle. Instead, we create the sound. We don't allow the sound to settle to its lowest state, which is what the planets are doing. Lowest energy state to orbit. That when those things happen that are perfect, that's what's good to our ear. So we understand perfection, and that's why we enjoy music, in my opinion, because perfection is beautiful to us. Symmetry is beautiful to us, and so music has to be symmetrical, and music has to have order to it. And if it doesn't, it sounds bad. And so that's how I see math. So
So you're not really a avant-garde jazz guy, then it sounds
I
like.
can't stand jazz. So
Yeah.
that's like that, and old country, like the twangy kind. I can't stand
Not,
that.
not
But
your
I
thing.
love everything else. I mean, I listen to Mozart, Chopin. I listen to modern instrumentals, which I'm sorry, Jake, but they're better than Mozart and Chopin. I don't know what the big deal is about those guys, but I do enjoy their music. I'm just saying there's better music out there that's been improved upon. They're the
Yeah.
giants whose shoulders we stand on. So, you know, yeah.
Yeah, totally. Well, and so the let's see, I had a question. I completely agree. So it's kind of like the from different spiritual traditions saying the same thing as above, so below, or made in the image of God, or like like in this way, music really shows us how we can become creators in a microcosmic version of the macrocosm. That's what I'm hearing
How
you say.
we can express the order and beauty of the natural universe that's been created. We can express that at will, which is what is so amazing about music. And I think that's what, because human beings, there's something about music that just calls to us. And it's, if you think about it, it's really strange. It's kind of like laughter. Why do we do that? Why is that so powerful to us? There's
Mhm.
something spiritual about it that makes it powerful. It's something that's intuned, it's ingrained into us. You can't get rid of it. Everybody likes music. Everybody can, enjoy a good beat, or whatever. um and so that's what's beautiful about it.
Yeah, well, that segues nicely into my real first question that I had, at least in my written down questions, which is, in your view, what does it mean to be a practicing musician?
So practicing musician, in my view, is a musician that enjoys their art and that continues it throughout their entire life, and makes themselves better at it, more expressive. And you're practicing to get to the highest level of ability that you have in order to express your art in the best way that you can. And so for a practicing musician, or anybody that's practicing at anything, chess master, whatever, they're going to spend a lot of time on that and become obsessed with it, and they will grow in that, to heights that they probably never thought they could, when they first started out. So
Hmm. Yeah, no, that's very true. And it begs the question, then, to you, what does art mean?
art art again is something that is, beautiful. So good art is something that is ordered and beautiful. And so you can glance at a piece of art, or you can hear a piece of music and immediately know that's not beautiful. Something to understand about that is that the human body, the human mind, is incapable of not thinking something is good or bad when you first look at it. When you first look at a human being, the first thing your brain does without you even trying is decide how attractive is that human being, and it
Yeah.
gives it a rating. And so humans are designed to find the most ordered, the most perfect, the most symmetrical thing. And so art is something that blends all those together in a way that is creative and unique and makes you kind of go, huh, or that's beautiful, or whatever. So,
Yeah. Well, I completely agree. I think that there's the vast majority of art is, at least that I enjoy, is beautiful. There's obviously the people that are just gonna splash paint on a canvas or whatever, but and even then it's interesting because Jackson Pollock was apparently like just splashing paint on a canvas, but he was drunk, and it's been very difficult for people to recreate the exact ways that he splashed the paint on the canvas. So they've tried to build machines and they've tried to do all these things, and nobody's been able to figure out exactly how he does it. Now, I believe when they're actually testing and having all these different people try out different methods, then those look similar to each other, the tests, but they can't make it look like how he did it. So I don't know what that means, but it's interesting because there is behind all art, which even if you don't find it beautiful, somebody else may find it beautiful. And there's this craft building phase, right? There's some technique, there's some giants, to put it in the way that you're standing at, that people are standing on, and then they typically are breaking that rule, breaking the rule of the giants in order to create the new form of art, right? So can you talk a little bit about your perception of what the difference between art and craft is?
mm. uh, well, the difference is that your craft is something that you use to support yourself, or that's a craft. That's what you do. Your art is your hobby, and sometimes they align, but often they don't. And so you're going to have something that you do that's a craft. For instance, I am a systems engineer, systems integrator, and that's what I've done my whole life, adult life, as my craft. I went to school for it and all that stuff. Um, that's my craft, and I'm very good at it. I don't enjoy it as much as I used to. I used to enjoy it, but it's not as as fun anymore because it's just my craft. Now, what I really enjoy doing that's art is I enjoy growing mushrooms. I enjoy hydroponics. I enjoy, AI, and things like that. I enjoy creating those systems that make things grow and produce something good in the world. And
Mm.
that to me is art. So,
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. And um it almost it's kind of like the striving for is what keeps you interested. Once you attain a skill set, then it's like, oh, I'm on to the next thing. Am I hearing that correctly?
for me, yeah, yeah. I have a very hard time once I've figured something out, refining that thing or making it a whole heck of a lot better because I understand it now. And so now I move on to the next thing. That for me is just fun. And but my craft is the thing I have to stick at. I have to keep working. I have to keep working until the entire project is done. And so, for right now, what I'm doing with us, with practicing musician, is this is my craft. So but I also enjoy it. So I'm in that stage where I enjoy my craft and it's also my art. So,
Yeah, no, that's great. So there's kind of a sequence of events here. Let's start with, what advice would you give to someone just starting their journey as a practicing musician? And let me clarify that what I mean by practicing musician isn't even just I'm going to pick up an instrument, play it, or I'm going to sing something, but seeing that music is a mirror of the universe. Music is seen in everything, the harmony, the disharmony, the crescendos, the decrescendos, all of these different components of, or at least terminology that we typically apply to music, are also experiences that we have when we go about our daily life. And so whether or not someone actually wants to pick up an instrument, which an instrument is a very good way to start to identify these different experiences and then apply them in outside of your musical journey. But that's what I really mean. And so what advice would you give to someone starting their journey as a practicing musician?
um, my advice is don't just stick to music, expand your horizons, because everything connects together. And so once you start to see that through your craft, other things are going to become much more appealing to you. For instance, theoretical physics. I'm a I'm a lay theoretical physicist. I see the world through that, and now that I've been doing AI so much, I see the world through prompting, and so but if I hadn't done that, then I wouldn't have been able to make the connection to music and go, oh, these things are like the same, and I can do all of these other things because I know this thing. And so as a practicing musician, there are all kinds of other skill sets and knowledge bases that you can use to enhance your craft outside of just studying music. So,
Hmm. And so just starting though, how do people start to identify these things?
well, you start by exposing yourself to a wide range of concepts and ideas and finding out what interests you. So if you're very interested in music and things like that, then you're going to look for things that, for instance, I remember I watched a documentary explaining how theoretical physics and music are interconnected. So a lot of what I'm saying here comes from that documentary. If I hadn't watched it, I wouldn't know all the history and the details and everything like that necessarily. And so you have to practice, 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 because that's the only thing that's going to make you better. And you have to enjoy it. And if you're not enjoying it, then you're going to, move on to something else. So I would suggest, if you try an instrument, you don't like the instrument, uh, don't waste a lot of time with it. Just try something else. That's the whole point when you're first starting out. You just, I don't like that. Okay, that doesn't mean you're not a musician. That means you try a different instrument. You have persistence, you have tenacity, you don't quit when you don't understand something. You keep trying. And as long as you keep doing that, I don't care how discouraged you are, you're going to continue to make progress. That's just how the world works. So,
Yeah, I agree completely. There's a moment in time where we get almost jaded with anything that we're doing. And it's typically during that time that everything that we have been practicing is solidifying as second nature. When that solidifies, that's when you get to the next level. So pushing through that actually gets you to a deeper understanding of whatever you're practicing. It's one way that I try and describe it is people are always talking about, oh, well, this is a prison, that's a prison, and there's these different sides saying that the other person's not free. And the reality is, if I chose to only play drums 24 hours a day for the rest of my life, I that might seem like a prison to a lot of people. But from my perspective, I would be constantly adding new layers of understanding. And it can be viewed from that perspective for from everything. So it sounds like you like to do is get to a few layers deep, and then you're like, I understand this pretty well, but I want to learn something completely fresh. And that to you is the freedom that you've learned works best with your personality and temperament and whatnot. And yeah, so part of once you start this process and you start identifying, I don't like this at all, I'm just going to move on to something else because my time is finite. I can't just do everything that is in my environment. So I got to choose. Then what is the role of a music teacher? Or tell me about the role of a music teacher in your life. You said that your music teacher said that you were very talented and hoped that you would continue after you left school. But during those 3 years of actually playing, what role did they have in your life?
um, well, teachers and I never really got along. So not a ton. Well, except for my voice teacher. So the instruments were the teachers I had for that were um just standard teachers, but I did get very close with my choir teacher. And so she had a huge impact on my life. At that time, she just cared about me and was interested in me and what I was doing. She also punished me harshly when I needed it. those are all things that kids need. And so she treated me with love, kindness, and respect, and that's that's a good teacher. And she also enjoyed watching me learn. She didn't se- she didn't tell me that I sounded awful singing 110 Soldier when I went to competition. So that was I wish she had just been a little bit more honest about that. I could have totally changed the tone. But yeah, so I listened to the record and I was like, oh my God, that's awful. So
Yeah, that's funny. I remember going to I played tons of sports growing up, and basketball, I never really liked it, but my parents were always very encouraging. And I was like, okay, okay. And finally one day they decided they were going to record me with a camcorder because that's what we had back then. And so they brought the camcorder, they recorded the whole game, and I watched it back. And I just never like getting dirty. It's like contact sports or anything like that. I don't like physical touch too much. So I'm watching, and the entire game, I just stand at about half court, and when people are the other team's dribbling the ball past me, I just move out of the way. And I was like, I'm definitely quitting. You should have
yeah,
told me, like, yeah, I don't like this. And so,
exactly.
yeah. So,
Honesty's key.
oh, sorry, what?
Honesty's key. So be honest with your mentor who will be your teacher and insist on their honesty with you. So
Yeah, I mean, that's the only way to grow, right? Growth happens through pressure. It's like what diamonds are created through pressure. If you don't want to become a diamond, that's totally okay. But we're here to grow. Literally, we are growing whether or not we want to. The cells are constantly changing, and the information that we take in, whether or not we want to admit that it's affecting us, it is. So you might as well consciously evolve. And that
right?
happens through feedback from the people around you. So
Yep. We don't grow up in a vacuum. So
no, and I'm glad because there'd be a lot of dust in there.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyways, so why is music education important to you? Or what I know what kind of role did it play in your life? What kind of role do you think it can play in other people's lives?
Music education. Um, Again, it's just necessary to exercise that part of your mind. So, the music is a whole different part of your mind when you use it, and you need to exercise that muscle. So it's a critical component to any curriculum education. So it helps your brain to see things in the world mathematically, even if you don't know that you're doing it. I think, and I haven't proven this, I think that after enough time, musicians' skills are they start to translate into um understanding other things. Like I'll bet a musician could probably listen to a machine and tell you if there's a problem with the machine or not just by the sound of it. Um, and they might have to listen to a couple of examples like you would train an AI, but I would expect that they would be able to identify these things quite easily and quickly because they've been exercising that part of their brain. That's just an example. There's tons more, examples. So, um, yeah, I think I might have gotten off track on that question a little bit, but
No, you made an excellent point. We know from like the field of neuroscience that when a musician is playing an instrument, there is there are more areas of the brain lit up than almost any other activity. This is because unlike right now, when I'm talking, I'm producing language and you're listening, and then we switch. Music, that's happening simultaneously, which is a fascinating phenomenon because the I believe the neuroscientists that discovered the areas of speech production and speech comprehension, Brocaw and Wernicke, they're actually in opposite hemispheres of the brain. I believe that I could be wrong on, but there is also, uh, but that doesn't happen simultaneously in any other discipline, the speech production or language production and comprehension. The other thing is that you are using both sides of your body uh, collaboratively, which that has to do with the different hemispheres. There's only a single nerve fiber called the corpus callosum that actually connects the right and the left side of the brain. And interestingly enough, the right side connects to the left side of the body and vice versa. And so when we are taught when we're growing up, you're right-handed, like most people are, or you're left-handed, and then we use that side of our body dominantly or predominantly for the rest of our lives, then we're actually not even exercising other areas of the brain. So that's all happening. Then you add on the mathematical layer, the analytical of what is actually happening. Plus, now I have to fit these four, I have to fit within a 4-4 measure or a 3-4 measure or 7-8 measure or whatever it is. And I have to play within this specific hierarchy of pitches that all have specific fractional relations to each other. And I have to then do that in real time in a way that translates to what my body's doing. It's a very great discipline for learning to utilize, I would say, a lot of the brain at the same time. If it's not all the brain, but it is, it's, I want to say too that it is more areas of the brain than almost any other discipline, if not more than any other discipline.
I
Um,
would, I wouldn't be surprised if that, yeah, that's likely true. Yeah. The brain is quite interesting. And we don't understand it. And so, I mean, just for an example of how fast your brain does stuff and subconsciously, that you can understand. Think about playing a game of catch, right? You're throwing the ball back and forth, and I am able to, in an instant, before the ball has even gotten maybe a third to me, I understand where that ball's going. I understand how fast that ball's going. I understand when it will hit me in time and space. And I put my hand in the exact spot where it needs to be caught. That's astounding if you really think about it. We can do that. We could do that with a machine, but guess what we have to do with the machine? We have to sit down and start writing out math to figure out where that ball's going to fly. We need to know how much pressure it has, how much force it was released with, and all that stuff. That's the only way that we can understand how that ball's going to fly. But you do it automatically. And it's the same thing with music. Think about I mean, that's just a simple example. With music, you're doing that just all over the place. And the human brains, you don't even know you're doing it most of the time. So,
well, and
yeah,
there's also the added layer of what you just mentioned in the physical world being beholden to the laws of motion, right? So
yeah, Newton's
that's
law. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And so every action has an equal and opposite reaction. That's the third one. But the reality is when you're in music, you're beholden to some physical laws, but also some almost quantum because you're a
Quantum laws.
person.
It is quantum. Yeah.
Yeah, because you
Yeah.
have someone else that's gonna do something that's outside of what you're expecting, especially
Well,
if
and
it's
they're
in an
waves.
improvisational setting.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're looking at waves. And so, what scientists are kind of starting to come to realize is the entire universe could probably be decided and understood using some sort of a wave function. And
Yeah.
so, and music is waves. So if we want to understand the universe, we really just, it's in our brain. It's already in our brain. We know what's perfect. We know what's right. We know what is good. And that is expressed through music. And we already know that. Same thing with your conscience. You know what's right and wrong. You can ignore it and it becomes less and less bothersome to you over time, but you still know what's right and wrong. So,
Yeah. Well, I think you might have just put your finger over the microphone a little bit.
oh, I did? I don't think so.
Yeah. Oh,
Can you
that's a
hear me?
that's a lot
Okay.
clearer. So I don't know what happened, but yeah, I completely agree. And the um that is, I mean, just a personal anecdote. I've talked about this on a lot of other podcasts, and I'm about to talk about it on a podcast on Monday. But the that is how I was able to attain sobriety. So I started using when I was 12 years old, and I used until I was 26. And the catalyst that led to my sobriety was the fact that I was playing 6 to 8 hours a day after I graduated from the Claremont colleges. And I could see that my playing would get worse. I developed a degree of focus and attention on something that I had a healthy passion for, so much that I could see not only when my behaviors are like the end result of a whole bunch of chemical reactions that happen subconsciously to then create what we call thoughts, to then create what we call behaviors, and then actions, excuse me. So my action of playing music. But the action is the last one. And that, if the action isn't working, it's because of all those other things aren't working correctly, way down to the chemical reactions neurophysiologically. And so that is not just because of drug use. When we have thoughts, that creates a cascade of chemicals. And so even when I just move my hand, I don't think about it. I'm like, I'm thirsty, and I reach for my glass, and all of that happens subconsciously. Typically, I'm not actually thinking I'm going to move my hand and open up my fingers. I don't think that. It just happens. All I think is I'm thirsty, and then all of the actions happen for me without thinking about it. And so when we develop a degree, unfortunately, a lot of that stuff, not necessarily unfortunately, but for the purpose that I'm saying, unfortunately, that happens when we're so young that we don't understand that we're developing all these skill sets. It just becomes second nature. Music is something that we have to do consciously. And if we can actually care about it enough to understand and go through that process of, I really don't know this at all, to I know this so well that when I have a thought or I engage in a behavior or I take an action, and it's going to affect my ability to play, because I've achieved some level of perfection in quotation marks, and that perfection is not there presently. What is it that I did? It's complete individual accountability, because nobody else is doing that to you. It's something that I did. This is my music, my instrument, and then you start to see when you're playing with other people, oh, well, they are inconsistent. Why are they inconsistent? What are the activities or the thought patterns or the behaviors that they've been engaging in that leads it to be better or worse? And then you start to see, that's why music is so important to me, because then you start to see, oh, what is, as you called it, the good or the beautiful, and what is the not good and the ugly, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I think that that's a really critical component of music. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that.
No, I completely agree. It is about your experiences and your passion. So your passion leads to work, and the work generates progress. And so you have to have that passion if you're going to do the work and to get to exercise your hobby. So and yeah, that's what causes you to learn what is good or bad. But you already know how to listen to music, because anybody could play a discordant note and you would know that's not right. You could be anybody and you would know. So music is hardwired into us already. We are designed to enjoy it. I think it's a gift from God, and I think that practicing it is a form of worship. So, and any practicing is a form of worship. So,
Well, that's great. And so let's explore that a little bit. Do you know much about cymatics?
no.
I don't know cymatics. I'm actually going to pull up do this here. Cymatics is fantastic. It is the study of sound waves, the physics study of sound waves. So let me
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
share.
Actually, I probably have heard of it, but I just forgot the name. Most likely.
Oh no, we got an ad.
You don't need to stress about your WooCommerce site.
I'm gonna need to get
WP
someone to run all this. Okay, so let's start here more. And then as the frequency increases, different patterns, you get back to different amount. So I largely view this, we don't have to watch the whole thing. I largely view this though as the higher, first of all, sound has the same effect on water. And humans are 70% water. So these sacred geometrical patterns are being created when there's specific frequencies. Was there's not, you saw that there was chaos, and then there's another version of this. I wish that I could have found where it goes that you can actually hear the sound increase slowly, and it gets very chaotic when it's not at the right frequency. And then when it's at the beautiful frequencies, then it goes into those patterns. And as you see the hertz actually increasing, then there's seemingly more compartments, right, of these patterns. And I view that largely as, from a spiritual perspective, as the higher that we ascend into understanding, then the more that we're able to go and interact with all of these other patterns or shapes or planets, if we're talking from a cosmological perspective or the astronomical perspective of Plato. And so I'm able to interact with tons of different people based off of the different the different levels that I've gotten to comprehension within each discipline. And then that leads to my overall, I guess, geometry, for lack of a better way of saying it, because there's different things that resonate with me and different things that don't resonate with me. And when I go to things that don't resonate, then it gets that disharmony, which actually feels chaos. And then when I get the things that do resonate with me, it's like, oh, I can interact with this because I have the patterns that fit in.
Which you understand. Yeah, and you understand that you need to get to the pattern, but you don't know what the pattern looks like, but you do when you see it. So it's like, I can't tell you what ugly is by describing it, but I can tell you by pointing at it. I know what that is. I can tell you what beautiful is by pointing at it. I can't describe it, I can try, but it won't. Picture's worth 1,000 words. So, and music is worth a lot more. It is worth as much as a picture, I'd say, probably more. Same, it's just describing your environment, in ways that make sense, I guess.
Yeah.
And you're right, the frequencies those are sound frequencies. Same thing happens with in space, but it's not sound, but it's the theory of waves. So what you're seeing is sound beholden to wave theory. And so what is the ultimate wave that is causing all of the planets and the universe and the galaxies to develop the way that they are? So it's not sound. What is it? That kind of stuff. And that's space-time relativity, blah, blah, blah. But by understanding sound, we can understand higher orders of things. For instance, they use sound to study black holes by recreating what they're doing in water using sound. So it's a much more advanced practice. And I've thought about using sound as for additive printing. So if you could somehow come up with a way to focus sound onto a specific spot, then you should be able to cause it to create a form that you want just by modifying that. And that's called beamforming. So the way that this works in the quantum level is that at the very, very highest level, you have energy that is waves, but those waves are actually light. And so in the same way that sound works, light works. But the problem with that is we don't understand why light is a wave. What makes it a wave? And so we know it acts like water, but we don't really understand why it acts like water. And so something's going on there. There's a high, and so eventually, hopefully, we'll find whatever the higher level was that, because we use water to understand light. That's how we discovered what light was and how it worked. We still don't understand why it works the way that it does, but a lot of physicists will tell you that they do, but they're lying. And so, yeah. So music, I think, transcends that. The sound of music transcends music itself. And so when you connect music to the human mind, it becomes a representation of the quantum world, which is light, and or not light, energy. It's energy and
Yeah.
propagation. And so yeah, so that's how I see it.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And so to try and break this down into maybe a little easier way of understanding, there's a principle in quantum mechanics called the particle wave duality, which I think is what you're kind of referring to here, which is that light can act as a wave and as a particle depending on the observation. And that has to do with uh, it boils or brings it back to the theory of relativity, which is the foundation of quantum mechanics. And most people think of the theory of relativity as E equals mc squared, which it is. But the best explanation that I've ever heard that made me finally understand what that means is a single sentence, which is the laws of physics are the same for all non-accelerating observers, which goes into light can be a wave or a particle depending on the observer. So that also is hard to understand until I started to really get deep into music. An example of what I mean is when I was at the 2020 NAMM show. NAMM is the National Association for Music Merchants. It's 120,000 plus person convention down at the Anaheim Convention Center where all of the different music products manufacturers release their new models and whatnot. And it's amazing. I met some of my favorite like most famous musicians, whatever that means. I guess they have a lot of people that observe them, but it's just people walking around trying out all the new gear. And so there would be, my primary instrument's drums, a floor of just drums. And I'd go and I'd play the Roland's or the Pearl or whatever it was. And I'd be playing, there'd be 10 other drum sets around and people would just be playing them. And I'm very proficient drummer. I've been playing for a long time and I play a lot. Not as much anymore, only 1 to 2 hours a day now, but what was interesting is because there was such an amazing pool of musicians there, a lot of the time when I'd be playing, I would be in the same flow and accuracy and precision as I was when I'm at home. And every once in a while, someone would walk by me who was better than me, and I could feel them judging me, and I understood that all of a sudden I was not as good at playing. Because their observation, their depth of understanding of what it was that I was doing it was like shining down on me, right? It's like when you fly, they say don't fly too close to the sun. Why is that? Well, if you're in the sun in the physical world and you don't properly prepare your body to take on the UV rays, the higher rays of light, then you get burned. Well, it's same in the spiritual world. If you don't prepare yourself to go out into the sun, which is someone who has aggregated more information about something than anybody else, then you're going to get burned. And so I could feel this happening in real time. And it was like it was dependent on the observer around me. It was a fascinating experience to actually see relativity in real time and be like, oh, okay, I can understand my place in the hierarchy of drumming proficiency.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's good.
So, so yeah, I think that this is all very, very important stuff. And with the, I mean, even just looking at E equals mc squared, energy equals the mass times the speed of light squared, right? So if it's mass, if we're all mass, what is the speed of light? What does that even mean? Well, what could it be? Could light potentially be equated to information that has been aggregated?
It's causality. The speed of light is the speed of causality, and the causality happens due to the duality of the electromagnetic field and there's electron field. So they go They go in, they move through time, but the act of them moving through time is the speed limit. So, yeah, because they're not able to, because of this speed limit, everything in the universe has to happen in a set pattern and at a set time. Those times have already been determined and they cannot be changed ever by anyone. Anything that happens within the universe is caused because that's what was going to happen anyways. So, because you've got the beginning, you've got motion started in the universe. Change is time. If something isn't changing, then time stopped. So there's nothing that just sits and does nothing. Energy is simply a concentration of energy that comes, or mass is simply a concentration of energy into a defined point. And that concentration of energy into a defined point causes the curvature of space-time to move, to warp, because there's so much energy involved. So it's that duality, space, time, and mass, or no, space, time, and energy are all the same thing. And if you understand that the entire universe is just energy and mass is just energy condensed, then it makes it so much easier to get in mind.
Everything is then one thing.
What?
Because everything is then one thing is what you're essentially boiling it down to.
Exactly. So you can know, you don't know, like your brain can't look at a TV or the forest or whatever and go, that's energy, but your intellectual mind can, your conscious mind can. So if it's hard, but when you step back and you say, okay, what I'm looking at is simply energetic manifestation of mass, then the whole world becomes a wave to you, I guess, or a propagation, or a flow, or something like that. To me, anyway.
Yeah. So I mean, this is very interesting to me, but it's not exactly on topic. But I am interested.
I know, right?
So you don't believe in free will at all?
No, I believe in free will, but that the free will has been predetermined. So we know everything that is going to happen has already happened, and everything, and so the entire universe right now is already done. It's done, it's destroyed, everything's gone, it's done. And it is also right now holding us, and it is also right now exploding. Everything in it has already happened. And that's the hardest thing for people to wrap their mind around, is that time doesn't really exist. It's just a construct in our own minds. It's one of the beauties of our own minds that we are able to understand that things around us are changing and perceive that as time. But that's not what it is. Nothing else has that power that I'm aware of, just human beings, because we're spiritual, we are a spiritual construct. We understand there's more to this than just the universe. And so think of it as like a black hole. You understand Hawking's ideas of radiation of a black hole. So when the black hole radiates, it can evaporate, basically. So what a black hole is doing right at the event horizon, time stopped. There is no time right at the event horizon. If you went to the event horizon of time of a black hole, you looked out back around you, just in the instant, but where you hit that event horizon, you would see the universe flash by in a blink and be gone, because there's no time there. So for the black hole, so for an outside observer, you're watching this black hole evaporate over trillions of years, Google years. To the black hole, it just exploded. That's all it did. It was formed and then it went boom. And to it happened instantaneously. The universe is the same way, only we happen to be inside of it. We're not able to see outside. So therefore, we don't see the instantaneous explosion. We see it as this is taking forever. But that's just because we're literally in a sliver of time that is being stretched out. And yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. So well, and my understanding is that they've just now realized that at the center of every star is a black hole. So it's not just that black holes are these things that are separate.
Not every star. A star has to be over a certain magnitude in order to become, when it collapses, to become a black hole. If every star had a black hole in the center of it, then every star, when it collapsed, the black hole would remain. You can't destroy a black hole. So the fact that that when we see stars explode shows us that they explode completely. We don't see the remnants of black holes or anything like that. We don't see anything orbiting around a point that we can't see. That tells us that but the black holes certainly can have, or stars can have black holes in them. The way that it happens is that usually stars are formed in a binary pair or even a tripair. And so what will happen is they're orbiting around each other. One star is siphoning off, matter from the other one. And as it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, it collapses into a neutron star. And then that neutron star drifts into the main star. And it's not destroyed. It simply settles into the middle of it and starts sucking up mass. And eventually it becomes a black hole inside of that star. Or at least that's the theory. And again, you have to understand with theoretical physics that 90% of what we think we know, we don't know. So, and then what we think we know, we don't know what we don't know. And so what we know, so that every time we make a discovery, all it does is generate more things that we need to learn. There's as of now, there's no cutoff to it. And so the complexity of what we think we know, what we know, we don't know. All we can do is say, we know it's perfect. Music is perfect. We know it's perfect. This is perfect because it sounds good or whatever. But all the mechanisms that get you there, that's a spiritual process. And it's not something that's easily understood or possibly could ever be understood because it's outside of our ability to observe. We're inside the black hole. Everything outside of it is impossible for us to ever get to without help. And so the help, in my opinion, is, we screwed up this universe and we need help. And so therefore we need Jesus Christ. So that's how, if you want to get out of this trap that we're in, which is this universe, and you don't want to have to live by the same rules of the universe, which is entropy, and that everything in it is going to die and decay and eventually just everything will be black. There'll be nothing. That is the eventual demise of this universe. You don't want to be in here. Even if you live forever, you're dead eventually. So you got to get out. And that's basically what that is. I see it through that lens. And then I accept that other people don't. I'm just telling everybody how I see it. So.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. We're coming up on time. We started a few minutes late, so we'll go a few minutes longer. But, at the risk of getting canceled, the term for a famous musician in at least some genres is rock star. When we're breaking that up, it's like, okay, it's a star that has condensed into this earthly place, right? And interestingly enough, a lot of rock stars have seemingly amassed a lot of the black hole capabilities and are taking in the energy from all of the people around them, which goes into the so it's an interesting way of looking at the astronomy and the quantum world from a relational cosmological perspective of, am I giving up my energy to somebody else, or am I going to become a practicing musician myself? And what is my purpose for becoming a practicing musician? Is it to become famous? Is it to take energy from other people? Or is it to spread a message? Or is it just literally to be practicing so that then I can evolve my own understanding of how I fit into the universe? And I think that we kind of do need all of them, right? We wouldn't be able to see without stars. The sun is a star. There would be no life without the stars. It's a reality. But that's not the only reason to do it. And so it's important to note for all of the viewers out there that don't get discouraged just because you feel like you're not gonna become famous, or because you're not gonna do it as a career. There's a reason to just become a practicing musician, which is at least some of the things that we've talked about today. And that's why I named the company Practicing Musician. There is a benefit to the act of practicing and identifying the ways that we relate to not only ourselves, which what is ourselves? I mean, we're just a bunch of cells even, so we're not even really solid if we're looking at it from that perspective. But then
We're
also,
energy.
yeah, we're energy. So then how our energy is relating to other people's energy. And that's to me one of the most important reasons for becoming a practicing musician. So anyways, are there any I'd love to continue chatting with you, and I definitely come back on, and we're gonna especially as we grow this podcast and we get more viewers, I think it's going to be important to have one more specifically around the physics of music, because it's such a fascinating topic, and blending the physics with the spiritual. I think that's
Mhm.
it's something that so many musicians talk about in their music because they actually can experience it. And a lot of people that listen to it think it's some mystical, like, oh, they're talking about the stars and supermassive black holes and these kinds of things. No, they're talking about the ways that they're relating to other people. They're utilizing these terms because the reality is it all is all one thing. And so we might not look as big as a star, but yeah, if you start to amass energy in that way, then you're going to become a black hole and start taking in other people's energy from their attention. Attention is a huge one. That's why when we go to shows, you feel this kind of energetic rise because it's a closed circuit of people performing and people giving them their attention, and then everybody getting attuned to the same wavelength, which is like the cymatics experiment that we watched. So these are all things that at least some musicians I know understand very deeply, and just very interesting topics to explore. So love to have you come back. What would you like to say to close out this podcast, Brian?
Um, just keep the focus that, like you were saying, Jake, everything's related. You practice one thing. Music's a great thing to practice because it is the most related to everything and will enable you to be able to quickly make the connections that you need and apply those to the rest of your life. And so you're not just practicing to enjoy music, although that is the primary reason. You're practicing because it changes you and it makes you into something better than you were before. And so, all when you're learning a new skill, all you're going to do is fail, and that's good because failure is how you learn. And I'm sure you've been told that, but it's actually true. And those who practice the most, they're the ones that win. Look at you've got that's the difference between a national tennis player and a world champion tennis player, is that their practice. And same thing with musicians. It's not that they have talent, although that can help. It's that they practiced it. Anybody can get good at a thing if they practice enough. You can get good at it. The talented ones, the ones who are gifted, they become legends, but you can get good at it. So
Can I close off with one addition to that?
absolutely.
So the etymologically, or at least in the English language, we have two spiritual currencies. Brian is referring to one, which is time. We spend our time. The other one, though, is paying attention. So we're literally using the same kind of term, spend and pay. So it's not just spending time. That is a very important thing. How much we practice is going to have a great effect on how well then we can translate into performance and other areas. But what we're paying attention to. And so not just practicing the same thing over and over and over, but paying attention to deeper and deeper awareness of that skill, or increasing the width or the range of our skill set. The more range that we have, the easier the stuff becomes. I like to say, when I do something that's hard, then it becomes easier. And when I do something that's easy, then it becomes hard. Then the things that were hard becomes hard because I'm not actually growing. So that's a really, really important point to close out. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate you bringing that up. And everybody who's listening, find, even if it's not music, but music is one of the best ways to do this because it does engage so many areas of your brain simultaneously. And so, but even if it's not music, find something that you're passionate about and go within, go as far into it as you can. You can tell how intelligent Brian is because of his passion for learning new things. And we're going to have a lot more great guests on this podcast. And I look forward to having you back here soon, Brian. So thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Jake. That was fun. So.